I'm Batman.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. I'm Batman.
Name's Bond.
James Bond.
I'm Batman.
Bond. James Bond. I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
This is the Batman vs. James Bond show. The show covering everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. And now, here's your host, Brian Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. I am your host, Brian Thomas. Thanks for joining me. This is the show where we talk about everything Batman and James Bond related, movies, that is. First off, I'd like to thank everyone who's tuned in since episode 1. You know who you are. I really appreciate it. Hats off to you. To all you new listeners out there, welcome. Grab a martini, and if martinis aren't your thing, then grab a ginger ale, because that's what Batman did. And put your feet up and enjoy, because we have a lot to talk about today. Before we get things started off first here, I just want to remind everyone to please subscribe to the Batman vs. James Bond show on iTunes, and please leave a little review for me on there. Notice how many times I said please let me know. I would really much appreciate it. So, let's get down to business. I was looking at the calendar and couldn't help but notice that on the day of recording, this is a Sunday when I always do my recording, majority of the time, that is, and it happens to be May 1st. Now, a lot of people are thinking out there, okay, it's May 1st, summer's almost here. Awesome. We get into the summer blockbusters, and, for you Bond fans, usually it means that we're just closer to November or whatever else. And especially going back to you Bond fans that, it is May 1st, aka May Day. You see what I did there? Yeah. View to a Kill. Watch it on replay. And believe it or not, this month, May, marks Batman's first appearance in Detective Comics, aka DC Comics. And it happened to be issue number 27. So, as you can imagine, this is going to be one of those kind of episodes where it's all Batman related. It's like the best of Batman. So I apologize to all the James Bond fans out there. Chances are you are a Batman fan in a way of some sorts, but we're going to take a week off from all the news and everything that's going out there. It's kind of a slow week anyway. We will get back to it. And for all you Bond fans out there, do not worry. I promise you, there is an all 007 episode already in the works, and it's not just going to be James Bond. My plan is from here on out, just to give you guys, an idea of the direction we're going on with this show. There's Comic-Con episodes planned. There are, actual celebrations for, the anniversaries. I've talked about that for the movies, and we're going to do reviews for them. I'd like to do some more interviews. I'm working on those as we speak. There's going to be all villain episodes. There's going to be a whole bunch of different things on here. But like I said, without further ado, let's hop into Batman Day. This is National Batman Day. If you can't believe it, like I said, it's here, and there's so much to talk about and not enough time. So, without further ado, let's kick it off with the top 10 Batman moments on film. And let me just tell you that as I was preparing this show, there's a lot of Batman films out there. And, the animated series, I'm sorry, it didn't make it into this because I haven't seen the animated film. So for me to say, I really want to put The Dark Knight Returns on this list. And even though I've seen a clip from it, I want to go back and watch the whole movie. I want to go back and watch Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. And I think, next time when I do this list, it's going to be updated. And while I've seen Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice only once, some of it will make it onto the best of here. However, I want a chance to see it one more time, at least, before I, start putting more moments in there. So what we're going to do here is kind of like a David Letterman kind of top 10 countdown and work our way down to number 1. So let's start with number 10. I have on here the Bat Pod from The Dark Knight. There are 2 moments in here that I want to talk about. So if you think back to the movie The Dark Knight, and don't worry, it's not all going to be Nolan, it's not going to be too much Keaton, it's going to be a little bit of everything mixed up, okay? So don't worry. Stay with me on this. So going back to The Dark Knight, okay, Joker had just, took the bazooka, blew up the tumbler in there as Batman was trying to save Harvey Dent in the armored vehicle. The tumbler just wrecked, and it crashes through the wall, and all these people are just kind of looking at it. It's all demolished, and all of a sudden, Batman just does this. He pulls this thing And we didn't know. It looked like it was pulling the steering wheel. Because remember, the tumbler was the same tumbler from Batman Begins, and we had no idea what was about to happen. Little did we know that there was a little ejector thing in there. You can kind of say that's kind of a Batman, James Bond kind of thing. All of a sudden, he pulls this thing, and what comes out? The Bat Pod. Now that might be a tie for one of like Batman's best vehicles. Now, we might not have a chance to get into that tonight because time is limited, but I did want to mention that when we saw the Bat Pod, now we saw it in the trailers, but we didn't know how it was going to be introduced. We just kind of thought, oh, well, he's going to just have it's like this little motorcycle and so forth. You know, the wheels look kind of similar. We've seen it before, but no. This was actually in the tumbler the whole time, which I really thought was a cool concept. So in a sense, you know, he was always driving the Bat Pod, but it was actually a part of the tumbler. So I wanted to mention that. What happened immediately after that, though, is as soon as the Joker was chasing Harvey Dent, he's still in the tractor trailer, Batman catches up to him. He blows through them all. He blows up a couple cars. Of course, no one's killed. All of a sudden, he, you know, comes down the street alley, and all of a sudden, the Joker says, "Now there's a Batman." And he shoots the wires at the truck, and the guy's like, "Oh, he missed." But no, he didn't miss. Because you know what happens next. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Dark Knight, well, if you're listening to this podcast, I would imagine you have seen that movie. So then what happens next? He flips the tractor trailer. It goes headfirst into the street and then flips it upside down. My God, what a hell of a moment that was. Oh, I mean, and just, you know, that was... There might have been a little bit of CGI in there. There probably had to be. But what a great moment of just practical effects. And just all of a sudden, after he flips it, he's speeding towards the wall. He flips back upwards and facing towards the wreckage. And it's just like, okay, sold. This is probably one of the most iconic Batman moments. I mean, one might disagree with this, but that was a great scene. So that's number 10. Number 9, moving into The Dark Knight Rises. Now, there were a couple fights in there, but this one was probably one of the most iconic fights because think back to when we heard Bane was going to be the main villain. Well, so we thought. When we heard Bane was going to be the main villain, what do you think of when you think of Bane versus Batman? You think of Bane breaking Batman's back, just like that iconic comic book image where, you know, Bane's holding him over top of his head and he's, you know, getting ready to break his back. That is iconic. That's classic Batman. Never read the comic. You know that by now. I haven't read all the comics. I'm just more of a film fan, but I'd like to get into the comics. Nevertheless, though, I knew about this history that Batman had with Bane. So when Batman's trying to track down Bane, you know, Selena Kyle, you know, kind of double crosses him, and they're it looked like it from the trailers, it looked like it was the Batcave. It's actually the underground sewer, Bane's hideout. And all of a sudden they're like on this, like, kind of like a middle stairway or whatever that's with this waterfall, like where the sewer is. And, you know, Batman is, you know, remember, he's been out of the game for almost, I believe it was 8 years. So, you know, and Bane is just, whatever he's running on, he's been, you know, drinking his muscle milk. He's been, you know, taking his whatever and so forth. Bane's been drinking his muscle milk. He's been, you know, doing all his push-ups and whatever else. He's juicing, definitely. So all of a sudden you're ready for this fight, and it's just, you know, the music stops and it's just all out punches. Batman's giving it everything he has, and Bane's just like catches his punch with his hand, and it's just like, no, not today, sir. Not today. Today's not your mother frickin' day. So, I mean, Bane just goes all out on him, and, you know, Batman's doing everything he can. He breaks out the thing just to knock out the lights. He breaks out like, kind of like I would say like a sparkling kind of bat bomb in a way, and it does nothing. Bane doesn't even faze him. He's like, oh, you think darkness is your friend? I was born in it. I was raised in it. Something like that to that extent anyway. So, and all of a sudden we see, you know, him grab Batman by the neck, and all of a sudden he, you know, punches the cowl and breaks the cowl, which we've never ever seen in a film. It was teased in the posters, and we're like, well, we don't know how far Nolan's going to go with this. I mean, it is Nolan. I mean, he does like, you know, pushing the envelope. And I mean, it is an envelope because, I mean, to break the Batman cowl, it's just like, you would never do that. Yeah. See, my Batman voice was coming out there. I tried. But, going back to the fight though, but then all of a sudden, you know, Bane picks up Batman, and you just hear, then all of a sudden the music cuts back in, that Hans Zimmer score, all of a sudden, And it's like, oh, and it just, you hear that, and it just, oh, it's like, he went for it. It was just like something out of a WWE match, and, he threw him on the ground, and then it just kind of goes, kind of like a silent, or, you hear like all the background noises stop, and the score kind of kicks in, and, Bane just takes the cowl off Batman's, head, and then he just kind of just like, tosses it right to the ground. It's like, you're pathetic. You're not even Batman. You're not worthy to fight me, and so forth. So, that had to make number 9, and it could make higher on your list. We'll see. So going on here to number 8. This was pretty iconic in my mind. I know we're kind of sticking with the Nolan trilogy, but believe me, there's more to it. This one's going to be Bruce Wayne when he discovered the Batcave in Batman Begins. Now, remember, when we saw Batman Begins, this was like a new take on Batman. We've had about three different takes on Batman. I mean, you want to count 1966 Adam West Batman, you can. It didn't make the list, sorry. We had the Tim Burton take. We had the Joel Schumacher take. But we've never seen how Batman, found his cave or anything like that. So when he, he sees the bat, inside Wayne Manor, then all of a sudden, Alfred tells him it's that blasted bat, they sneak somewhere from the cave, and it's like Batman's, the light bulb pops up on his head, It's just like, a cave, bats. I have an idea. So he gets down to the cave and turns on the fluorescent light, and all of a sudden the bats, and they're CGI, obviously, but they just circle all around him. Batman closes his eyes, slowly stands up, and just like, yeah, I'm not afraid of you. And it's just, what an iconic moment that was. It's just like, okay, when Bruce Wayne fell into the cave, when he was playing with Rachel Dawes, that kind of like started, okay, bats, frightened me and so forth. But when he went into the cave, it's just like, okay, bats are going to be my symbol. This is the symbol I've been looking for, and I'm going to turn fear into those who prey on the fearful and so forth, and I'm going to be Batman. So there you go. So number 7 is going to be Catwoman versus Batman, and this is the first fight in Batman Returns. Now, we know that, this Michael Keaton Batman was already established in this. We've never seen Batman fight a girl, per se. And, Catwoman and him, going back even to the comics, everything I know is that they've always had just kind of that love-hate relationship. And it is pretty evident in this. So you go back here and you see Catwoman appear. Batman's chasing after Catwoman. He finds him on the rooftop. Catwoman appears out of nowhere, which Batman isn't used to. She, unleashes her claws, per se. Pardon the pun. And, Batman's just like, oh crap, wrong kitty to piss off. And, he gets in a fight and he's trying his best not to hit her. And I guess maybe he's old school, never hit a woman. I can understand that. James Bond might disagree with that, or at least the Sean Connery and Roger Moore days might disagree with that. But Batman usually has never hit a woman. So all of a sudden he just gives her the quick backhand and just like, oh, I'm a woman. How could you say, I'm sorry. And then, Catwoman puts the claw right into his, bat armor. And it's just like, oh, what a great fight that was. And it's not always about the fight, but it's a demonstration of the chemistry that these two had. I mean, sure, Michael Keaton had a little bit of chemistry with Kim Basinger in Batman 1989. I know I'm going off a little rant here, but the chemistry that he had with Michelle Pfeiffer, I think it worked better, not just when it was Selena Kyle, Bruce Wayne, but especially when we're watching them as Batman and Catwoman, their alter egos, and just the similarities that they had, and just, Batman obviously is all, I'm a hero, I'm trying to help people. Catwoman, I mean, she's not about, world domination, nothing like that. It's just more she's after revenge to a point. And Batman can understand that because he's been after revenge when it came to the Joker and Jack Napier. So, I mean, he knows he wants to turn her, but at the same time, she's just like, I'm my own person. I'm not listening to any man. I do what I want. So 9 lives left. So number 6 is going to be what I call Bruce Wayne lectures Alfred about Superman. This is one from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, what's happening here, to give you the setup of this is, and I'm sure you've seen it, is when Batman he wants to declare war on Superman, and they're in the Batcave with this, and Alfred's like, you want to go to war? And Batman's like, that son of a bitch brought the war to us. Jesus, Alfred, count the dead. Thousands. What's next? Millions. he has the power to wipe out the entire human race. And if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, then we have to take it as an absolute certainty, and we have to destroy him. 20 years in Gotham. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way? What great dialogue. You know who wrote that. You know that was Chris Terrio or maybe even Ben Affleck that wrote that. I mean, that was just like, okay, Batman is declaring war. I mean, yeah, we've seen Batman declare war on other enemies before, but something like this, it's just how true to his purpose he is. If there was any time that this was actually the Dark Knight, that would be the moment right there. I mean, you know, like I said, we've only seen one time so far of Ben Affleck as Batman. There's going to be more coming. We already know that. But just something like this, it's like, okay, old school Batman maybe would have said, oh, well, maybe I should make friends with him. Maybe I should, you know, try to talk to him first and reason with him. This Batman isn't about reasoning. It's like, okay, it's on like Donkey Kong. I'm going to destroy this alien. He's not going to destroy my home planet and the innocent civilians. There you have it. So, we know what happens in Batman v Superman. We won't go into that too much, but I thought that just the quote alone that he made, just that, you know, speech that he made, it's just so powerful. And, yeah. Moving on to number 5. All right. This one is a really good one. This is Batman versus the Joker in Batman 1989, and this is Batman flying the Batwing. All right. So paint you a picture here. So going back to Batman 1989, so the Joker is, you know, giving out his millions of dollars to the citizens of Gotham, and then he tries to gas them. Then after all of that, after he drops all the balloons in the air, or he pulls the balloons all the way up in the air so everybody's safe and sound, he comes back, and all of a sudden, what does he do? He gets out all the guns and artillery on the Batwing. And guess who he's going for? Duh, the Joker. So Jack Nicholson is just, you know, I'm going to need a moment or two alone, boys. And then you see him walking right in front of the cake where it has the 200th anniversary on there of Gotham. Batman is slowly creeping in between the buildings of Gotham City. He's coming back into the city. He, you know, does kind of like what I would say is like a Star Wars moment where he gets the X-Wing with the extra vision on there, like the magnifying glasses, to make sure that he's going to be targeting directly on the Joker. He targets in on the Joker, and all of a sudden, you know, all the guns, the little mini missiles, and they go just like straight past Jack Nicholson. And the Joker's just standing there just like, come on, hit me, you gruesome son of a bitch. Come on, come to me. And he misses him. And Joker it's just a proof of how psychotic the Joker is. It's like, oh my God, this guy's got balls of steel, literally. And he stands there, and all of a sudden Joker's like, okay, that's all you got? He pulls out like this super revolver, kind of like a shotgun in a way, and just one shot and destroys the Batwing. And it's just like, you know, all of a sudden the Batwing starts going up in smoke and flames. Batman just goes, right in the road, and Joker's like, yeah, I did it. It's like, yeah, Batman, you're not going to win this time. I'm going to go get Vicky Vale. I'm going to go live happily ever after. Thought that was a great moment as number 5. Moving on to number 4. This one also is the Joker. As you can tell, you know, there's a lot of love for the Joker. Number 4 is going to be the interrogation scene from The Dark Knight. And that's what's so famous about this, or makes this so famous, is that everybody knows this as the interrogation scene. And then what happens is Commissioner Gordon finds out that Harvey Dent never made it home. And he's talking to the Joker, and he's like, okay, you want to play games? That's fine. I'm going to need a cup of coffee. And during this whole scene he's in this interrogation room. There's nothing in here but just a table, just glass, double pane glass windows. And it's just enough light where it makes it dark, but you can see just a little bit of this Joker, and you can see just enough of Commissioner Gordon. And after Gordon leaves the room, he closes the door, and all of a sudden the lights pop on, and guess who's behind him? Batman. Never start with the face. The victim gets all, and this scene it's just all about dialogue. Nolan just nailed the scene. And not just Nolan, but Heath Ledger and Christian Bale. This is acting, folks. This is really acting right here. It's just like, okay, this is everything we wanted from a Batman versus Joker standpoint. I mean, no guns, no special effects, nothing. It's just acting. It's just like, okay, I wanted to see what you do, and you didn't disappoint. Why do you want to kill me? I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? You complete me. And it's just, I can't get enough of this. Every time I see this scene, I respect it more and more. And then he's like, you have nothing to do with your anger and all your strength. And, you know, he finds out that, you know, they, meaning that Harvey Dent and Rachel, never made it home. And then all of a sudden he just starts laying into the Joker. He starts punching him, and he's like, where are they? Where are they? And, he's doing his maybe a little bit overblown Batman voice, but it works. It works so well. And the Joker's just laughing, and you just realize how much he doesn't care. It's just like, okay, once again, this is a proof how psychotic the Joker is and just how ballsy he is. He's just like, Batman, I don't care how strong you are. I don't care what you could do to me. I know you're not going to kill because that's your number one rule. You're going to have to break your rule tonight, and that's the way it is. And, he ends up telling him the location, but once again, just like any hero situation and villain, the problem is choice. He had to choose which one, but that's another story for another day, as I like to say. So, but go back and watch that scene on YouTube, or even just go watch the whole movie. It's just worth it for that scene alone. All right, number 3 here as we start wrapping this up. This one is tied, and yes, I know it's my own list. I can say it's tied because it's still from the same. It's 2 different films. It's Batman and Batman Returns, but it's the same gadget, if you will. The bat signal. All right, so let's fast forward to the end of the film. All of a sudden, Harvey Dent is like, we've received a message from Batman, the citizens of Gotham, yada, yada, yada. And if you're ever in trouble, call me. And then what does Knox say? Question, how do we call him? And then Gordon's like, he gave us a signal, and lights it up. And it cues the Danny Elfman music. Love that music, by the way, but we'll get into that in a little bit. All of a sudden, you see Vicky Vale looking at the signal. She's walking over to Alfred, and then Alfred's like, I thought champagne would be in order, ma'am. And then Mr. Wayne said he'd be a little late. And Vicky Vale's like, I'm not a bit surprised. And all of a sudden, they drive off, and then Burton does his, kind of pan up the buildings of Gotham City, and all of a sudden, Batman is looking at the signal, and the signal's pretty close. He's pretty high. He must be pretty high up. He must be on a Chrysler building, if you will, or something, because he's that high up looking and stuff. See, I can't get enough of this. And it's just, he's looking at the signal. He's not doing sad Batman, but he's kind of doing proud Batman. It's like, thank you for realizing that I'm not the Joker, and I'm not just just like this guy who dresses up as a bat and just wants to, wreak havoc. Thought it was a great moment. It might be, some might say that might be one of the best Batman moments, but like I said, it made my number 3 list. Number 2. Now, this is a really, really good one, and I want to make sure that I get this right when I talk about this. This is also an end scene, but this one is from The Dark Knight. So, fast forward to the end of that film, and Batman, he saves Gordon's son. I believe it was actually Gordon Jr., if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, he ends up killing Harvey Dent in the process because he jumped and Harvey Dent falls and I guess breaks his neck or whatever. So Batman's laying on the ground right next to him. So Gordon's like, thanks for everything you did and so forth. And Batman's like, don't thank me. Gordon goes into saying, all of Harvey Dent's prosecutions, all that stuff that he fought for, it's going to be undone. The Joker took the best of him. He won in the end. And Batman's like, no, they can't know. They must never know about this. We have to what we have to do is we kind of have to protect this in the name of Harvey. Everything that we fought for in this whole movie, it's just Harvey was the White Knight, obviously. So he is the symbol that everybody needed. And Batman's willing to take the blow for all these people who died because of Harvey Dent, and no one must know about this. So, and especially not letting the Joker win. So, Batman kind of moves his face over. You actually don't see Two-Face, but you actually see just Harvey Dent's face. And then he says, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I can do both those things and so forth. And Gordon's like, you can't do that. No, this is not this is not you and I. This is like a team effort. And Batman's like, no, I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be. Call in your guys, call in the police. And I'm not a hero. And then all of a sudden it ends up with Gordon giving a speech at the eulogy, or giving a eulogy at Harvey Dent's funeral. Just, it kind of does a fast forward in a way. So Gordon says, not the one we deserve, but the one we needed. Nothing less than a knight shining. And then, it also goes into Gordon saying, they'll hunt you, you'll hunt me, you'll condemn me, set the dogs on me, because it's what needs to happen. Because sometimes the truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people deserve more. Sometimes people deserve to have their faith rewarded. And then all of a sudden you see just at that same time, Gordon, is calling it into his, giving the rest of the eulogy. Alfred is burning up the note that Rachel Dawes left, and Lucius Fox typed in his name into the sonar system, and it does like a self-destruct, and then he kind of walks away and kind of smiles. Batman, he's kind of limping. Remember, he's been shot by Harvey Dent. He's running off, and the dogs literally are chasing him. The policeman's like, okay, we're going on in. And then he cued the Hans Zimmer music, even full throttle in there. Batman gets into the Batpod, and then and goes right off there, and yeah, I did the wrong Batman theme. Whatever, you know what I was going with. And, his son's like, Batman, why is he running, Dad? Gordon's like, because we have to chase him. Because he's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. So we'll hunt him, because he can take it. Because he's not a hero. He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a dark knight. And then, all of a sudden, pitch black, Batpod's going up the street in that kind of like brownish kind of light in a way, and all of a sudden, then it goes pitch black, and then cues up The Dark Knight. What a great ending to a film. Nolan's known for having those cliffhanger endings. Some will say that, if you went back to like even Batman Begins, that was, I don't want to say it was a cliffhanger, but he did give us the tease in there, of which I will talk about in a moment. Dark Knight Rises, this was kind of a hanging kind of ending there too. And even going back to films like Inception, he does that. But this was probably by far one of the best endings. Because none of us saw it coming. At least I didn't see that coming in the movie, which I would say is, it was such a build-up. And in order to maintain the image of Batman and Harvey Dent, Batman's going to take the fall for him and just make sure that nothing becomes undone. So that's my number 2. Now, for my number 1 moment. Any guesses what it is? Oh, you might have an idea because you know how big of a fan I am of this film. It is Batman's first appearance in 1989. So the two robbers, they knock out the family's husband and, they make off, hey, American Express card, don't leave home without it. That would be such a great quote to put in this, but I can't. But what I'm leading up to, of course, is then when Batman makes it, just makes his first appearance in there. So he takes the thug and grabs him and he's like, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell your friends about me. He's like, who are you? I'm Batman. And then just jumps off the building, and the thug is just like, what did I just see? What just happened? It was a 6-foot bat. And he kind of just smiles and then just falls to the ground. He's like, okay, I'm going to lay off the alcohol and drugs. So, yeah, that's my number 1 moment. I have a lot of honorable mention moments on here that I want to get to real quick. Of course, Dark Knight Rises, Miss Kyle. So that's what that feels like. When Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, kind of disappears after Batman kind of saved her ass, from Bane and her thugs. Another good one was Batman Forever. The ending in there as, after he beat the Riddler and Two-Face, Val Kilmer's Batman makes this quote, and he says to, Jim Carrey, he's like, I'm both Batman and Bruce Wayne, not because I have to be, now because I choose to be. I thought that was a pretty good one. All things considered, there's a lot of hate for the Joel Schumacher films. I can see your point in that. I didn't say I hate it, but I said as opposed to the other Batman films, they're just not as much high ranking, but there are good moments in there. Batman 1989 also, the Joker's quote, where does he get those wonderful toys? What a great quote, because we got to see the Batmobile right after that. That was good after he saved Vicky Vale. Another good quote is, another moment would be, I won't bury you. I buried enough members of the Wayne family. That's Alfred's known for lecturing, so that would be a good one. That one is from The Dark Knight Rises. Another good quote, or another moment from The Dark Knight that I didn't think, I definitely wanted to mention, but I didn't think it would make, of course, the top 10. When Alfred and Batman are kind of in like the new Batcave in The Dark Knight, and they're talking about, I knew the mob wouldn't go down without a fight, but this is different. They've crossed the line. Alfred's like, you crossed the line first, sir. And then he said, some men can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn. And what they're doing is they're looking at the Joker and just like everything that he's done up to this point, they're just like, wow, it's just, you can't reason with this guy. It's just, he is a terrorist, and just some terrorist you can't, obviously negotiate with. Hence the quote. A couple other ones that I wanted to mention in here. This one's kind of funny. It's the Bat card, don't leave home without it. I thought that was worth mentioning because it just showed kind of what I would call the low point in a Batman movie, or just more or less just how funny, how much more of a comedy it became instead of a drama action movie. It was worth mentioning. Now, this moment will kind of make up for it, though, in Batman and Robin. So Batman had just got in an argument with Robin, as apparently he always does. And, Robin was saying, it's always got to be your way or the highway. And then, Batman kind of thinks about it. So he goes to Alfred and he kind of says, "Hey, Alfred, is it always my way or the highway? Am I always pig-headed?" And Alfred gives this great speech, probably one of the best moments in Batman and Robin. He says, "Yes, actually, death and chance stole your parents, but rather than become a victim, you've done everything in your power to control the fates. For what is Batman, if not an effort to master the chaos that sweeps our world, and an attempt to control death itself. Great moment. Like I said, a lot of people will say that, Schumacher, he kind of made it, his Batman films were just subpar, if you will. They just became kind of funny, everybody chill. That's my best Arnold impression, but yeah, but he did have a good idea of what Batman was going through. I mean, we can definitely say that with even Batman Forever, Batman trying to choose between Bruce Wayne or Batman. Other moments I did want to mention, honorable mentions really quick. Like I said, there's so many, but, we have to keep going here. Swear to me, where were the drugs going? There's so many memes out there for that, we could go on and on for about that. And this one I would end off with, this one was from Batman Forever. Your entrance was good, his was better. And that's from Batman Forever, and that's the Riddler talking. So moving on here, best Batman gadgets. Now, there's a lot of gadgets that are very similar throughout all these films, so we'll kind of go through this list kind of quick because I want to get to the real meat and potatoes of this. Best Batman gadgets, I mean, we're definitely going to say the Batarang. You can't have a Batman without a Batarang. Many different iterations of that. I will highlight the 1989, the first one, because that's the first time we saw Batman. He kind of it was a foldable Batarang, and what he used to get the criminals and kind of went around their legs and pull them and so forth. What's Batman without a grapple gun? Once again, there's so many different grapple guns out there. You have the 1989 Batman grapple gun. You have the gas-powered magnetic grapple gun from the Nolan trilogy. There's a new grapple gun in Batman v Superman. For the life of me, I'm trying to think what it looks like. All good ones. Obviously, the necessity or the most necessary gadget for Batman is the utility belt. What would Batman be without a utility belt? I mean, that's what makes him him. Whether it's the bright yellow, kind of a gold one. Sometimes they've been black, like they were in the Schumacher ones. And I think Batman v Superman was kind of like a dark gold, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go back and take a look at that. The gauntlets, those are always good. Different iterations of gauntlets. 89, they were used. He blocked one of Jack Napier's bullets in there. Batman Begins, they were more kind of a heavier armor, if you will. And when he was fighting Ra's al Ghul, on the train at the very end of Batman Begins, he was using them to block the sword, and he kind of cut the sword with that. So that's definitely a gadget. The Dark Knight, in The Dark Knight, Lucius Fox kind of gave him new gauntlets, and that's kind of where kind of went on the James Bond, if you will, kind of like where the actual plates kind of came out after you press a button and kind of did that cute kind of Q gadget thing. But that was still worth noting because that's kind of how he helped him beat the Joker. Let's see what else we have here. The bat bombs. There's been lots of bat bombs. Those are always good. Batman Begins, he definitely used the bat bomb, and in Dark Knight Rises, I remember him using that. The sonic device. I don't think there's really like a specific name for this, but there's like the sonic device that Keaton used in Batman Returns, and he pressed the button. Not only did he use it to control the penguins, to stop them from shooting the missiles into Gotham, but he also used it to call the bats, which kind of caused the penguin to fall to his death, if you will. But remember, Batman doesn't officially kill because that pisses off a lot of the nerds. But that was also worth noting, and the same happened in Batman Begins. He called the bats, and it was in Batman Begins when he's fighting Scarecrow, and to throw off the Gotham PD, he presses the button that's in his shoe, and he does that cool little superhero landing, if you will, by calling the bats. So that's another good one. The sonar system from The Dark Knight, that was really cool. We've seen, well, let me go back here. There was a sonar system in Batman Forever before there was in The Dark Knight. This sonar system was used when he's at the very final battle between the Riddler and Two-Face. He's like, I have a riddle for you. He tells the riddle, I see without seeing, darkness is as blind as light. What am I? Something like that, to that extent. And the Riddler's like, Please, you're as blind as a bat. And then Batman hits the button on his utility belt. Exactly. And then the lenses come over top this bat suit that he has, and then he throws the Batarang, and it just destroys the Riddler's creation there, his mind control system. And it was a really good moment. So that's definitely one worth noting. And of course, there's the sonar system that was in The Dark Knight. Batman used it in Hong Kong to get the Chinese guy back into Gotham City. And the biggest one was when he was trying to save the hostages from the Joker's goons in the building chase or the building fight scene there. So that's also worth noting. Moving on here. Also mentioned in the Hong Kong scene, of course, was Skyhook. That's also a good one. The Dark Knight Rises. Another one that I wanted to mention here was the EMP gun. So there's the scene where Gotham PD is chasing Bane and his goons after they kidnap the hostages from the stock exchange. And all of a sudden, they're in this tunnel and the lights slowly start to go off. And the two Gotham police are like, what is that? And all of a sudden the one guy's like, oh boy, son, you are in for a show tonight. And that's actually a quote from a comic, if I'm not mistaken. And then all of a sudden you see the Batpod and Batman go through, and he has this EMP gun on the side of the Batpod, and then he kind of fires it at the bike, disables the bike, and what happens? But the Gotham police officer shoots it by mistake. He's like, sorry. And Batman's like, you little. But it was a great moment there, too. I'm trying to think what else we have here. I'll mention this just for the sake of it, so we can throw some Batman v Superman in there. The voice changer in the bat suit. Both bat suits actually had this. So, a lot of criticism, of course, happened from the Nolan trilogy about, Batman and his voice. Why don't you like my voice? Because you might have overdone it a little bit, Bale. Who's to say? I liked it. I still love it, but oh well. So they ended up doing more kind of like an Arrow voice changer in there, and I really liked this approach with it. So it occurred with both bat suits. So tell me, do you bleed? You will. But he does it in kind of like a voice changer aspect of that, but worth noting. Anywho. So moving on here, we can't have a National Batman Day without talking about the best Batmobile, all right? So this one's going to cause a lot of controversy, as will the next couple topics, but let's hop into this one. So my number 5 Batmobile is going to be the Batman and Robin. This one is at the bottom of the chain. We've said a lot of things about the Joel Schumacher Batman films, but I will say that probably is one of the weakest moments of that Batman movie because the bat nipples, of course, took away from the respect that Batman had and the suit. But I will say that the Batmobile, it just was really weak. I don't think it really did that much to my recollection. It was like a convertible Batmobile, and it was kind of weak. It was just the design. Everything was just kind of like, eh. The Batman Forever Batmobile, that was my number 4. I liked, at the moment when I saw that movie, it's like, okay, this one's kind of a fluorescent Batmobile. It's very much lit up. I did like how they used the grappling hook on there where he drove on the side of the building. I'm not talking about like between the buildings. I'm talking about actually up a building. He put it on the roof, and that's when he was escaping Two-Face's thugs. Thought that was a good moment too. But the Batmobile in general, it was pretty good. It was too retro for me. So, yeah. The new Batmobile, I did like this new Batmobile from Batman v Superman. We did get a chance to see a good car chase in it, and it was more or less, it was just a lot of that Batmobile shooting and going through walls. You can easily say it was inspired from the Tumbler, and it was I would say it's like a crossover between the Tumbler and the Michael Keaton Batmobile. And that's a great thing. It's just that we didn't get to see it do too many things besides shoot some guns and go through buildings. So that's my number 3. I hope it does make a return. We know it's going to make a return in Suicide Squad, so maybe David Ayer has some tricks up his sleeve for that one. No idea. Number 2 is going to be the Tumbler. Now, I love this Batmobile. I'll have to post the picture that I have because I actually got to see this in person. No, I didn't get a chance to ride in it or drive in it, but quick story here. I was going downtown when I heard that this is during 2012 when The Dark Knight Rises came out, and they had some kind of a tour where they took the Batmobile Tumbler and they took the Batpod and they were taking it from city to city, promoting the movie naturally. And I live in the Baltimore, D.C. area, and they took it to Baltimore City down to the Inner Harbor, and I'm driving down there to meet one of my friends, and all of a sudden I'm like stopped at a red light, and all of a sudden I see this truck, and what's the truck carrying? It's carrying the Tumbler Batmobile, and I'm like, it's the Tumbler, it's the Tumbler. The little kid in me came out, and I'm just like, I have to see this. I have to get down there and find it. I almost left my friend just to go find this thing. And I got some pictures with it, and I'm like a little kid in a candy store, and it just, wow. And that Tumbler is just everything you would imagine it would be. Now, of course, it was just kind of parked and just sitting there. Everything that the Tumbler could do, though, I mean, it had its stealth mode, it dropped its bat bombs, and, it flew on rooftops. And I just think that it was a more practical, everyday version of what a Batmobile would be. And Nolan did take that into mind, just like, okay, well, if we're going to put Batman in, make a practical kind of, Batman for this world, then we kind of have to make it more military grade. And that's exactly what the Tumbler was. So as you can imagine what my number one's going to be, it is going to be the Tim Burton Batmobile. Wow. I go back and I still watch Batman, watched Batman Returns the last couple weeks, and that Batmobile, that's something, man. I mean, minus the fact that the Penguin's henchmen were able to break into it and, just kind of, take charge of it. That Batmobile, especially in Batman Returns, actually, I think the Batmobile was used even better in Batman Returns just like what it did. I mean, it had the beanbags that shot out that got those skull guys that were on the motorcycles. It had the thing where, remember the guy who's thrown, is like, he was in like devil horns and he blew the fire and lit the guy on fire and so forth. Well, Batman took the Batmobile, turned it around, something came out of the bottom of it to make it turn around. All of a sudden, he takes his flame and lights the guy on fire, and the guy crashes into the store. It's like, joke's on you, buddy. Let's see, what other moments were there? Oh, of course, when the Batmobile became, he's being chased by the police because everybody thought that he killed the Ice Princess, and he sees there's the two buildings. It's always in between two buildings for some reason. I don't know if that's a Tim Burton thing or that's a Batman thing. I have no idea. And all of a sudden, he's trying to hit the button. He's like, that's funny. Why isn't it working? And then he hits the switch, and then comes the Bat Missile. Now, I know it's kind of like the Bat Pod in a way, same idea, but it probably should have made my best Batman moments now looking back at that. Thank you very much. But I thought that was worth mentioning. 1989 Batmobile or Batman Returns Batmobile is probably going to still be one of my favorites. There was just the design of it and just everything that it could do. I love it. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the best Bat Cowl and best costume for Batman, the best bat suit. So, this one's going to be very debatable, and I'm probably going to be biased, but you might be surprised about which one I choose. So number 5 on my list is actually going to surprise you. I'm going to say the Dark Knight bat suit. Let me tell you why. This bat suit was an interesting change. It had, my biggest flaw with it is that it had too much detail. It had too many little pieces to it. I understand that Batman wanted to turn his head. He wanted to be, he wanted to be lighter. He wanted to be faster and move around because, in his previous fight in the Dark Knight, he couldn't do as much and it was kind of limited. And, maybe it's because of the dogs. I have no idea. But they redesigned it, and I don't know if that's because, it's a new movie. They have to redesign it. Maybe, maybe not. I didn't think it was necessary, but looking back at it, it just, I don't know. It's not my favorite, but it's not my least favorite. My least favorite doesn't even make the list, and that's just going to be, obviously, hands down, Batman and Robin, the bat nipples. Anything with bat nipples, I don't want to see. So, number 4 is going to be the actual Batman 1989 suit. And this one comes to mind. And the only reason I said this was number 4 is the bat symbol on the chest symbol. And I know I'm digging here, but go with me on this. The bat symbol that they had on there, it had like the funny tail that it had at the bottom of that. And there was a reason they couldn't use that in the film. It was, something with DC Comics was not allowing them to use it, or I think there was something with copyrighted that they weren't allowed to use it at the time, but it was a good suit. I like the cowl, and it's probably one of the most iconic Batman suits, but I still say that that's not my favorite bat suit. Number 3 on my list is going to be Batman v Superman's suits. Notice how I said suits? First one's going to be just his plain Batman suit. I say plain, but it's, it's more simplified, if you will. It's the dark gray suit, and it looks like just Ben Affleck was all muscle in that. He might as well have just been, he didn't even need the suit. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to I just need some kind of cover up. I need a onesie to cover my muscles up because I'm that strong. I'm not hating on Ben. I'm just saying that he was just that strong. He didn't have to pull a muscular suit just to show off and intimidate people. This suit was true to Frank Miller. It was true to The Dark Knight Returns. And it was just the cowl itself. You noticed how the ears were smaller. And I like that because, the oversized ears in a Batman and Robin, they were really huge. They were in between in the Nolan ones. And with Batman and Batman Returns, the ears were longer, if you will, but not quite as long as they were in a Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Anyway, the suit itself, though, it was a very simple suit. It was kind of like it was worn down in a way. But, and you have just kind of like a sewn on bat symbol right on the chest, and I really, really like that a lot. Including in on number 3 would be the Batman armored suit. Yes, we have never ever seen a Batman armored suit, and some will say that should be number 1 because this was something brand new. I'm not going to say it's the best, but I will say that there was a lot to it, and it's probably going to be the most implemented or most worn at the next Comic-Con, and that's awesome. I've seen some of these posts on Instagram and Twitter, and some people have made their own bat suits, the armored suit, and it is amazing. So I'll stick with that as my number 3. The next one's going to be number 2. This is going to be the Batman Returns suit. Now, having just watched Batman Returns, I would probably say it's always back and forth between Batman and Batman Returns is my favorite bat suit. But I will say Batman Returns, and this is, like I said, this is where I'm digging, this is where I'm getting picky. They changed the actual Batman suit, like the body armor, the torso armor in a way. First of all, they went to this yellow bat symbol that he had, the chest emblem. It was the more iconic bat symbol, and that made the suit just for me alone. But of course, he went more or whoever the designer was, kind of went more rectangular, like on the ab part of the bat suit, and I kind of like it a little bit more. It was like it was more armored, more protected. Obviously not from Catwoman's claws, but I did like it a lot. And the same for Max Schreck shooting him, so I guess it wasn't as armored as we thought. Great design, though. Number 1 is going to be the Batman Begins suit. This Batman Begins suit is by far... it's everything from the cowl, and I can understand because I actually bought this Batman cowl. I bought an exact replica of it, as a matter of fact, and I wore it last Comic-Con in New York. Let me just say, Christian Bale, I feel your pain, buddy. I know why you talk like that. I know why you're talking like this, because you really can't turn your head. But damn, what a great looking suit. What I said about, Ben Affleck and his muscles, Christian Bale obviously wasn't quite, he was very strong and very in shape, but what they did with this Batman suit is, it was very simple in a way. It was just like, okay, they had the chest emblem on there into the, this Nomex Survival suit, whatever it's called. And it was kind of like made in there, but you got to see Batman make the suit, and it was a muscle suit, if you will. And it was a great looking suit, all things considered. So definitely want to make that on there. And of course, the Batcape in general, even though I didn't really mention the Batcapes too much, I liked how they did the memory cloth in there. Moving on here, we've talked about this before. I don't want to get into it too much, but I will say that the Danny Elfman Batman theme is by far one of the best Batman themes, or best iconic superhero themes ever. I will say that Hans Zimmer Batman theme is probably in a close second, if not tied with it. The one he did with James Newton Howard for the Nolan trilogy, so definitely check those out. Like I said, mentioned on a previous episode, just want to make sure I put that out there. So now, the 2 topics that we care about, the 2 topics that you are probably just dying to know about right now, and you know where I'm going with this, so let me start with this. The best Bruce Wayne. Boy, oh boy, am I going to get probably a lot of hate mail for this, and if I don't get a lot of hate mail for this, I'm going to get it for my best Batman. So I broke this off into 2 categories. Best Bruce Wayne. Best Bruce Wayne. How do I go about this, man? All right. I know you're just saying, get on with it, Brian. Just tell us who it is. Who's it going to be? My number 3 is going to be Michael Keaton. And I know I'm digging here, but I just think that he was kind of a relaxed Bruce Wayne. And, he didn't, when we think of Bruce Wayne, at least this is my thinking on this and my reasoning for this is that, okay, he puts on a show as this billionaire businessman and he's very smart. He drives these fancy cars. He's dating all these, beautiful women and so forth. At the same time, though, nobody understands the pain that he's gone through because, his parents died. His parents were gunned down right in front of him. And what does that do to a man? I mean, it's just, Michael Keaton, I did like what they did is they kind of did like a flashback of when Batman's parents died and when Jack Napier killed him. I did like that a lot. With Keaton, we just never got this feeling like, okay, Bruce Wayne's his alter ego. It was like one and the same in a way, kind of like that nonchalant kind of, okay, I'm Bruce Wayne, but I'm going to be Batman at the same time. So that's how that was. Ben Affleck, though, this is going to be my number 2 as of now. Like I said, we've only seen one Ben Affleck Batman film, and there's more to come. So this could change in the years to come also. But I will say Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne might be one of the best we've had so far. We get to see, like I was mentioning, about how traumatized Bruce Wayne was or how he can be when he loses someone that he's, his loved ones, when he loses like a friend. I mean, we saw how he reacted when he was talking to his business partner. I'll call him his business partner, but one of his colleagues when General Zod and Superman were fighting in Gotham City, and just his reaction to that, and just how he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so coming back and kicking your ass, Superman." Like we talked about before, one of the quotes I had about just how he was lecturing Alfred about, why we have to take Superman out. And, Bruce Wayne in itself is just, it's not who this person is. Batman is really who the main character is. Bruce Wayne's just like the alter ego, if you really think about it. And I think Affleck just really nailed it. However, I'm still going to say that Christian Bale was the better Batman. Going all the way back to Batman Begins, and I honestly think that, it was an origin story, but we had that backstory really helped show what drove Batman to become Batman. Or let me rephrase that. What drove Bruce Wayne to become Batman. And it was more of a character study of Bruce Wayne. And given that, I would say that Bale nailed it. He took it home. It was that drama in there that really added to it. That take of Bruce Wayne's parents being gunned down by Joe Chill, I just think that, they having those flashbacks really did help out because it wasn't just one flashback, it was multiple flashbacks. Just the pain, just saying, this is just a typical man. You're an ordinary man in a suit. And as Ra's al Ghul said, it's like, yeah, I am, but Batman can be anybody. And Bruce Wayne decided to take on this. And another thing I really liked about Bale's performance with this, and it was the chemistry that he had with Alfred, and it was kind of like that father-son lecture in there. It's like, okay, if these are going to be the first of many injuries, then you might need to pick up a sport. Like, may I suggest polo? And Bruce is like, I'm not going to play polo, Alfred. And then, he's like, well, you need to live like a millionaire playboy. And then all of a sudden he rolls up in the Lamborghini. He has 2 girls with him and he's just spending hundreds and thousands of dollars. He buys the hotel. And then what he does, and this is probably because I like this movie too, is, and he's like, well, a guy who dresses up in a batsuit clearly has issues. And that's when he pulled like, okay, you're kind of like Patrick Bateman, if you will, from American Psycho, and you're putting that into this Bruce Wayne interpretation, and it's like, okay, you nailed Bruce Wayne. You really put on like what this character is, just like you're just this billionaire playboy that we pictured you being. So I know this is tough to say, but I'm going to say that Bale is my definitive, as of now, Bruce Wayne. So moving on here to the main hot topic of the night. Who is the best Batman? Boy, this is really, really tough. And like I said, I'm going to get so much hate mail for this because I'm not going to tell you. I don't have to give you. No, I'm kidding. It is going to be a tie between Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, and maybe talking this out will help me maybe help me decide. Yeah, Keaton. Whenever I see Michael Keaton, even nowadays, I'm like, there's Batman, there's Bruce Wayne, there's, it just brings me back to my childhood days. Now when I see Christian Bale, it's like, there's the Dark Knight, there's Batman, and you can't help but do the Batman voice like this. You're like, screw Keaton. It's always going to be me. It's always going to come back to me. Christian Bale is Batman. And it's just like, oh man, I really, really liked that Batman interpretation that he did. But both of them just had their own portrayal of Batman that I think, a lot of fans will still say that, Ben Affleck might be the best Batman that we've ever had to date. Like I said, need to see it a few more times for me to be able to say that, but I will say that Affleck did do a great Batman interpretation. But I will still say it's kind of like, when you're picking like your favorite James Bond, it's just like there's been so many different interpretations, but I will say that, Keaton will always be Batman, or at least the Burton Batman. Everybody will compare him. And the interesting part about that is when I heard that when he was picked to be Batman, everybody's like, that's not Batman. That's not who we would consider to be Batman. It's like, well, who would you choose? Because given the amount of actors that were out at that time, it'd be like, I mean, it's not like you can pick Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone to be Batman, because that's never going to work. I am Batman. And it's like, well, it's such a pitiful Sylvester Stallone. Just cut that. I'm going to cut that out. But still, Michael Keaton was not the obvious choice. Christian Bale he wasn't even a big star when Batman Begins came out. I mean, we knew who he was. We've seen some of his films, but aside from American Psycho, which really cemented him as more of a, kind of a good actor, I would say that, I think he was obviously he was the not so obvious choice. And everything that he did with that Batman portrayal, I still say Batman Begins was probably his best Batman performance, because that was an all Batman film, obviously. I will still say that, and even Bale said that, he wanted to go even deeper and more like darker with the Batman movies or his Batman portrayal, but he didn't have that chance because Heath Ledger happened and his Joker portrayal, and that just kind of took away from his Batman performance, and rightfully so. But I will say right now it's probably going to be a tie, and I know that is a cop-out, but, well, that's just how it is. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. Please subscribe on iTunes and or Spreaker, and make sure you rate this show and leave me a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. 5 stars. Remember that. 5 stars, 5 batarangs for this show, okay? Follow me on Twitter at Batman vs. Bond, and like me on the Batman vs. James Bond Facebook page. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, please send me a direct message on Facebook or Twitter, and we can set something up. Like James Bond, I will return. Once again, thank you everybody for listening. Until next time, peace out and happy National Batman Day, everybody. Bye-bye.